The first time Claire Reynolds saw the shadow in her hallway, she thought it was just a trick of the light. It was a cold November evening, rain tapping against her apartment windows like impatient fingers. She had been reading, the soft hum of the city a distant backdrop, when something shifted in the corner of her eye. A shape, darker than the rest of the room, lingering just long enough to make her breath hitch. She turned her head, expecting to see nothing, but the air seemed denser in that spot. Then it dissolved into nothingness. Claire shook her head and laughed to herself. Too much coffee, too little sleep. It had been that way for months. Long nights spent on her laptop, chasing the threads of a story no one else believed. Her older brother Michael had vanished 2 years ago. The official report said he'd left town voluntarily, no foul play suspected. But Claire knew that wasn't true. Michael had been digging into something before he disappeared. A string of unconnected events that, in his words, wasn't random at all. The last time she saw him, he'd been pale and restless, his eyes darting toward the window every few minutes. "They're watching me, Claire," he'd whispered. "And if anything happens to me, don't trust the police. Follow the paper trail." And then he was gone. Now, in her small apartment, the shadow was back, longer this time, stretched across the wall like fingers reaching. Claire set her book aside and stood, her bare feet silent against the hardwood. "Who's there?" Silence. She took a step closer, her pulse ticking faster. The air smelt faintly of ozone, like the moment before a storm. And then, just as before, it vanished. Claire didn't sleep that night. She pulled out Michael's old hard drive, scrolling through documents, news clippings, and emails. Over and over, one name kept surfacing: Rook Industries. A faceless corporation with ties to everything from biotech to private security. And buried in Michael's notes was a single address, an abandoned warehouse on the edge of the city. The next evening, Claire went there. The building was massive and silent, its windows boarded, the chain-link fence sagging in places. She found a gap and slipped inside, her flashlight beam cutting across piles of debris. The air was thick with dust and the faint metallic tang of rust. Halfway through the main floor, she heard it. Footsteps above her. Claire froze. She wasn't alone. She killed her light and moved toward the sound, finding a staircase that led to a dimly lit office. The door was ajar, and inside she saw stacks of boxes, each marked with Rook Industries logo. She slipped in and opened one. Medical files, dozens of them, each stamped confidential. Many were dated within the last 2 years, after Michael vanished. Then she found his name. Claire's breath caught. Michael Reynolds. Status, subject 17. Incomplete. A floorboard creaked behind her. She spun around. A tall man stood in the doorway, his face half in shadow. His voice was low, almost amused. "You shouldn't be here." Claire's fingers tightened around the file. "Where's my brother?" The man stepped forward, the dim light revealing sharp features and eyes like polished stone. He said simply, "Gone. You should let it go." But she didn't. Over the next few weeks, Claire became a ghost herself, sleeping little, tracking movements, hacking into encrypted servers. She found patterns in shipping manifests, connections between Rook and a string of missing persons cases. The deeper she dug, the more the shadows returned, not just in her apartment now, but on the streets and her peripheral vision, always slipping away before she could see them clearly. And then came the letter. No return address, just a single sheet of paper with 4 words. "Stop or you're next." Claire burned it. If Michael was alive, she'd find him. And if he wasn't, she'd make sure whoever was responsible paid. She didn't know yet that the truth would be worse than either outcome. Because Rook Industries wasn't just hiding secrets, they were creating them. And the shadow in her hallway, it wasn't just watching, it was waiting.